Welcome to the deep dive. It is Sunday, March year 2026, and we are on a very specific mission today.
We really are. And it is a massive undertaking.
Yeah, if you have ever looked around at the sheer complexity of modern life and thought, why didn't this come with an instruction manual?
Right. Then you are in exactly the right place.
Exactly. Because today we are building the ultimate owner's manual for the human experience.
To pull this off, we're synthesizing a frankly mind-bending stack of source material today. I mean, we are crossing disciplines in a way that might seem completely chaotic at first glance.
Oh, totally. I was looking at the list earlier and thinking, how on earth do these fit together?
And the overlaps are stunning once you map them out.
We've got cutting-edge quantum physics discoveries coming out of the Forge Empire.
And then we are layering that with clinical neurobiology and habit formation research.
Right, from Dr. Louisa Nicola and Dr. Kim Foster. Plus, we have systems logic from a really fascinating figure named Thane Cross.
And finally, we are rounding it all out with deep spiritual frameworks from Rosanna Croft and Apostle Joshua Selman.
On the surface, it sounds like we're just throwing completely unrelated fields into a blender.
It does, but our approach isn't just to look at what is happening in science or what is being taught in spirituality. We are looking at how these wildly different vocabularies are actually describing the exact same human machine.
And more importantly, we are digging into why it matters to your daily life.
Exactly.
So the big promise we are making to you today is this. By the time we wrap up this deep dive, you will understand how the physical universe, your brain's literal biological wiring, and your spiritual blueprint all intersect.
You are going to walk away with actionable tools to fundamentally shift your reality.
But to do that, we have to start with the hardware.
The environment we actually operate in, the universe itself.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because according to the latest research from the Forge Empire, the universe basically got a major software update.
Right, in late 2025 and early 2026.
We are looking at groundbreaking quantum discoveries that are just completely rewriting the foundations of physics.
For over a century, physicists have debated this concept called the wave function. The argument is basically, is the quantum world just a mathematical tool we use to calculate probabilities?
Or is it a physically real thing?
Right. And recently, new high-precision quantum computers provided a definitive answer.
And the answer is yes, it's real.
The wave function is a real physical state before anyone even observes it. The universe literally responds to measurement immediately.
Which means you aren't just predicting possibilities anymore.
No, your act of measurement uncovers the hidden structure of reality.
I was reading the notes from the Forge Empire, and there was this one experiment that completely broke my brain.
The insulator one.
Yes. Tell me if I have this right. They took a special type of insulator, and normally an insulator blocks electricity, right?
That is its entire job, yes.
But when they placed this insulator under an extremely powerful magnetic field, it showed oscillations deep inside its core that only ever appear in metals.
It was acting as an insulator and a conductor at the exact same time.
How is something holding two contradictory identities at once?
What's fascinating here is that matter isn't just one fixed, stubborn thing. It holds overlapping, hidden states.
Depending on how you look at it.
Exactly. Those states only express themselves based on the conditions and the observer examining them. It behaves one way when you look at it with one set of tools, and a completely different way with another.
And this leads us to one of the most significant patterns emerging in quantum tech right now.
Quantum distillation.
Right. This is where one quantum system passes its refined knowledge down to another system.
But the shocker is that the new system doesn't just copy the data.
It actually becomes more capable than its teacher.
It strips away the noise and only inherits the pure, optimized function.
It's like a evolution on fast forward for machines.
Generation after generation getting smarter, simply by being passed refined knowledge.
Without having to do the original heavy lifting.
If we synthesize all this quantum data, the big paradigm shift is that the universe is not a cold, rigid, mechanical clock ticking away, regardless of what you do.
It is an adaptable, flexible field of possibilities.
Actively shaped by observation and interaction.
So what does this all mean?
Good question.
How does your brain, your biological interface, actually interact with this flexible quantum field?
Because it's one thing to say the universe is flexible, but it's another to actually change your own life.
This is where we bring in the clinical neurobiology of Dr. Louisa Nicola.
And she hits us with a hard truth.
Most people fail to change their lives because they rely entirely on motivation and willpower.
Which, neurologically speaking, is a terrible strategy.
terribly inefficient.
Your willpower lives in your prefrontal cortex, and that part of your brain is an absolute glucose hog.
It burns through energy incredibly quickly.
By the evening, after you have made hundreds of micro decisions all day, what to wear, what emails to answer, how to navigate traffic,
Your prefrontal cortex essentially throws in the towel and goes offline.
it shuts down.
So you're saying my brain shutting down at 8 p.m. and forcing me to eat a sleeve of Oreos is actually just a biological hardware limit?
It is entirely biological. I mean, when the prefrontal cortex fatigues, your brain defaults to its old automatic programs just to save energy.
I feel so validated right now.
This is why Dr. Nicola emphasizes that change isn't about what you want. It's about who you deeply believe you are.
It is identity over willpower. Let's dig into the mechanism behind that.
She talks about the reticular activating system, or the RAS.
The RAS is essentially your brain's bouncer, right?
That is a great way to put it. You are bombarded by millions of bits of sensory data every single second.
If you processed all of it, your brain would fry.
So your RAS decides what gets through to your conscious awareness.
But here's the catch.
It doesn't filter based on your conscious goals. It filters based on your deeply held identity.
If your underlying belief is, I am not an athletic person,
Your RAS will literally filter out opportunities, visual cues, and motivations to exercise.
just to keep your reality consistent with your belief.
Exactly.
Wait, so if my brain is just filtering out the things that don't match my current flawed identity, how do I trick it into seeing the good stuff? Is there a backdoor?
There is, and it brings in Dr. Kim Foster's concept of the 10-second mental rehearsal.
Since we know the universe responds to observation and the brain filters reality based on identity, we can hack the system.
Dr. Foster says you should spend 10 seconds every morning mentally rehearsing the version of you that you are becoming.
Just 10 seconds.
You close your eyes and fully embody the posture, the feeling, and the specific action of that future self.
And the reason this works is wild. The brain actually cannot differentiate between an imagined action and a real one.
Mental reps literally build physical neural pathways.
I saw the study Dr. Foster cited from the Cleveland Clinic, and it is stunning.
They took healthy volunteers and had them do 12 weeks of purely mental rehearsals.
They just imagine doing arm and finger muscle contractions.
No physical weights were lifted at all.
At the end of 12 weeks, these test subjects increased their physical arm strength by 13%.
And their hand strength by an incredible 35%.
Purely from focused thought.
That is quantum interaction manifesting at the biological level.
Your observation is changing the physical structure of your cells.
But Dr. Nicola gives us a critical warning here about maintaining those changes.
Let's say you have a massive insight right now while listening to this. You feel inspired to change a habit.
According to her research, you have exactly a 48-hour window to act on it.
Because of long-term potentiation, right? The whole neurons that fire together, wire together concept.
Precisely. But what people usually forget about that catchy phrase is that those neurons must fire repeatedly and soon.
If you do not take a physical action within 48 hours to encode that new insight, the neural pathway weakens.
The motivation fades, and you revert back to your baseline identity. The insight is entirely lost.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We've talked about the physics and the biology.
But how do we bridge this intense biological hardware with the spiritual, intuitive side of ourselves?
In our source stack, we have the work of a persona named Thane Cross. He is known as the systems translator.
What I find so compelling about Thane is that he treats spiritual awakening not as some mystical, floating concept.
But as a literal feature, not a bug, of the human machine.
Thane uses a framework he calls the integration protocol. He is constantly looking for interface errors.
Think of an interface error as a mismatch between your spiritual face,
which is your blueprint, your intuition, your raw energy,
and your physical face,
which is the building itself, your nervous system.
If your spiritual blueprint is demanding that you build a massive mansion, but your physical nervous system is only wired to handle the electrical load of a garden shed,
the whole system crashes. You experience burnout, anxiety, or physical illness.
I love how he strips away the jargon. He has this strict fluff filter.
Instead of telling someone they are under a spiritual attack, he calls it unresolved system tension.
Instead of throwing around dense medical terms, he simplifies them.
A great example is how he handles heart rate variability.
Usually, doctors talk about HRV as the microseconds of difference between their heartbeats that show how stressed your nervous system is.
It can get very clinical, but Thane strips that jargon away. He just calls it the body's reset button.
He explains the human experience using logic that anyone can grasp.
Plumbing for energy flow, electricity for neurological wiring.
And he isn't just speaking in metaphors. He has a literal physical authenticity moat to back this up.
Back in 2015, Thane donated a kidney.
He's also had his gallbladder removed. His biological hardware is permanently modified.
Because he is missing parts of his physical machinery, he had to use his background in mechanical engineering and IT logic to literally debug his own physical system.
So it could maintain homeostasis and handle his spiritual energy.
It forces a highly practical verification of his methods. One of his core tools is something he calls somatic unlocking.
Hold on. Somatic unlocking sounds a bit like a mystical healing session where someone waves crystals over you while you lie on a yoga mat.
It sounds like it, but he frames it purely as a physical signal interrupt.
It is an intentional physical action that tells your nervous system that the threat is gone.
It signals the body that it is finally safe to stop bracing for impact, allowing the blocked tension to release so energy can flow through the plumbing again.
It's a mechanical reset for a biological switch.
Which ties beautifully into the spiritual framework of Rosanna Croft.
She talks extensively about the necessity of sitting in the darkness.
Now, sitting in the dark sounds great in theory, but when you're actually dealing with a life crisis, that sounds terrifying.
How does someone actually do that without spiraling?
It is terrifying if you view the darkness as a void. But Croft teaches that the darkness isn't something evil or something to avoid.
The dark is the liminal space.
If we map that onto our quantum physics discussion from earlier, the darkness is the quantum field of infinite potential.
It's the place where the wave function hasn't collapsed yet.
Nothing is fixed, which means it is the exact place where rapid fundamental shifts can happen.
You have to endure the discomfort of that unresolved system tension to actually unlock your potential.
Okay, so let's bring this right down to the ground. Let's build the Daily Operator's Manual for 2026 for you, the listener.
We know the brain needs action to lock in a new identity. Dr. Foster calls this the one aligned action rule.
You just need to do one small thing every day that proves to your brain who you are becoming.
She points to a Duke University study showing that 45% of our daily actions are purely habitual.
We are on autopilot almost half the day.
If you change just one intentional action, you grab the wheel of that autopilot.
It creates what psychologists call the self-perception effect. We assume our actions follow our beliefs, but often we infer who we are based on what we see ourselves doing.
If you see yourself making a healthy choice, your brain says, I must be a healthy person.
But to actually make that action happen when your prefrontal cortex is exhausted, we need to use Dr. Nicola's concept of the minimum viable action.
This is all about tricking the brain's resistance, right? Because the brain wants to conserve energy.
Exactly. Think about what that implies for your daily routine. You must lower the activation threshold so drastically that your brain doesn't trigger its energy-saving alarms.
Don't commit to a grueling 1-hour workout at 6 a.m.
Your brain will fight that. Just commit to putting on your gym shoes.
Make the barrier to entry so incredibly low that your brain cannot justify resisting it.
Once the shoes are on, behavioral momentum naturally kicks in.
And part of reducing that resistance is environmental design.
Stop using your precious, finite willpower to fight an environment you designed badly.
If you want to eat healthier, don't leave a plate of biscuits on the counter and try to mentally battle them all day.
Take the biscuits away.
Make the healthy choice the path of least resistance. Let your environment do the heavy lifting for your identity.
Another crucial part of this manual is managing how your brain records the day.
You have a built-in negativity bias.
Evolutionarily, your brain acts like Velcro for bad experiences and Teflon for good ones.
It will ignore 9 successes to obsess over one awkward conversation.
Because ancient survival depended on remembering threats. To combat this, Dr. Foster recommends the evening rewrite.
I love this practice. Before you go to sleep, you write down 3 sentences, starting with, today I was the kind of person who...
You are intentionally forcing your brain to record evidence of your new identity.
Locking in that experience-dependent plasticity before it gets wiped.
And then you go to sleep, which, according to Dr. Nicola, is the most counterintuitive secret to this entire manual.
Your brain does not actually change while you are working.
The physical rewiring happens while you are resting.
Wait, so the grind culture of constantly pushing and never stopping is actually biologically counterproductive to learning?
Completely. Deep, slow-wave sleep is when your brain replays the day, consolidates learning, and physically strengthens those new synaptic connections.
Furthermore, when you are awake but just doing nothing, staring out a window, letting your mind wander without a screen,
Your brain activates the default mode network.
this network is absolutely essential for generating insight and integrating new information.
Effortlessness is not unproductive. If you never rest, you literally prevent the neuroplasticity you're working so hard to achieve.
Rest is the work. That is such a massive paradigm shift.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to move from the biological to the purely spiritual.
Our source material from Apostle Joshua Selman provides what we might call the highest level user inputs for our reality.
He outlines the spiritual mysteries that govern outcomes, operating almost like the foundational code beneath the quantum level.
Selman specifically addresses a very painful question.
Why do people fail to see results, even when they are putting in the effort, doing the habits, and the universe is supposedly ready to respond?
He breaks it down into 5 key failure points, and we need to walk through these because they directly challenge how we operate.
First, he points to a lack of expectation. He uses the biblical example of blind Bartimaeus to illustrate this.
When asked what he wanted, Bartimaeus didn't just ask for a general blessing.
He specifically asked to receive his sight. Selman argues that faith is vision-dependent.
You can't just throw a vague desire for things to be better into the void. You must precisely define your expectation.
The second point is a lack of sensitivity.
This is the tragic error of missing your time of visitation because you are distracted, exhausted, or simply unable to discern the opportunity standing right in front of you.
Third is the absence of faith.
So this is basically the spiritual equivalent of the wave function collapsing based on observation.
It operates on a very similar logic. Selman teaches that unbelief literally limits the possibilities of what can manifest in your life.
It isn't just about positive thinking, it is a structural requirement.
You have to actually believe the solution is possible for you, or the system cannot deliver it.
The fourth reason is the refusal to acknowledge and glorify God.
From his framework, when you withhold thanksgiving and don't share your testimonies, you are cutting off the flow of future possibilities.
Thanksgiving isn't just politeness, it is the application for more of that grace.
And the fifth reason, this one is tough, is dishonoring prophetic instructions.
This raises an important question about the ego.
Selman uses the story of Naaman, a great, respected military captain who had leprosy. He went seeking a cure and was told by a prophet to simply go wash in the muddy Jordan River 7 times.
It was an instruction that deeply insulted his human intelligence and his pride.
He wanted a complex, dramatic healing suited to his status.
But the spiritual breakthrough required the humility to follow an instruction that completely defied human logic.
How often do we do that today? We get simple advice like get 8 hours of sleep or do a 10-second mental rehearsal.
And we dismiss it because it feels too simple to solve our complex problems. It insults our intelligence.
Which brings us to Selman's ultimate warning, the danger of overdependence on the flesh, on your own logic, or your own self.
It is a guaranteed recipe for failure.
He uses the analogy of Nehemiah building the wall around Jerusalem. There is always a technical component to any endeavor.
Your skills, your neurobiology, your daily habits.
But there is an equally vital spiritual component.
Greatness isn't just a personal achievement you unlock, it's a trust.
True glory can only manifest when the ego steps out of the way and allows the higher system to operate.
So take a breath. Look at the massive journey you have just taken. You now hold the manual.
You understand that the universe is a flexible quantum field waiting for your measurement to collapse into reality.
You know that your brain needs you to prove your identity to it through tiny 10-second mental reps and minimum viable actions, acting within a 48-hour window before the insight fades.
And you know that to truly upgrade your life, you have to debug the interface errors between your spirit and your body, leaning into the liminal space of the dark, and trusting the process enough to rest.
You hold the tools to be the system's translator of your own life. You do not have to be a victim to old wiring, chaotic energy, or environments that drain your willpower.
You have the protocol. Lower the threshold for action, clear the environmental friction, manage your biological energy, and define the exact reality you want to inhabit.
Which leaves us with one final thing to think about as you step back into your day.
We talked earlier about quantum distillation.
The idea that machines are evolving at lightning speed simply by passing refined, purified knowledge down the chain to the next generation.
And we know your brain is busy encoding your identity based on the tiny, seemingly insignificant actions you observe yourself doing every single day.
So ask yourself, what specific version of reality are you distilling into existence for tomorrow, simply by what you are choosing to focus your attention on right now?